Well, hello and welcome to the On It Not In It interview series. I'm your host, Todd Eppert, and today I'm joined by Jim Rader, who is the founder, majority owner, and president of Project Technologies and Services. Jim, thank you so much for joining us. Would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are and what you do?
Hey Todd, hey, thanks for having me on. Well, I'm an engineer by degree, by background. Kind of always been entrepreneurial, but worked for companies till I was right around 35, and built a career, built some relationships, got to know the business, got to be a little bit more technically sound, and finally decided to go on my own. There's a background, maybe we'll get to that later through questions, but finally went on my own. Never had any desire to build a company, just want to be on my own and independent and just hang my own shingle, to say. And it just slowly has grown and developed, and now it's a nice business with some really good people, and been really happy with it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And why don't you give us a little bit of a background about what your company actually does? Give us some background on that.
So we are engineering and project management, really running capital projects for manufacturing, industrial facilities, some commercial buildings, some commercial facilities, but for the most part, we focus, being in the Rust Belt, we are really around the manufacturing side and production, and, very aware of food and beverage, metals processing, chemicals, utilities type work, the stuff that very much in manufacturing environment.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So you mentioned you had a career that you built till you're about 35, and you said there's probably a story that, well, let's hear it. What pushed you into being an entrepreneur officially?
Well, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I had a couple rental properties starting off, trying to make some extra money on the side. And so I've always had a little bit of entrepreneur in me. But I had a young family at 30s, and I was traveling quite a bit, Philadelphia and Toledo, and just keeping employed and taking care of business. And it was a lot on the family. So I was interviewing for a mechanical department manager here in the greater Cleveland area. And the owner was going very well. The owner asked at the end, I think you should write me a letter on why I should hire you. And I will tell you that inspired me to say, you know what, if I'm going to work for other people, I'm going to do it for me. So it really kind of jolted me, and just kind of helped push me over the edge of, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And got my wife to finally agree, and it's been great since.
Okay. All right. So it's all been, daisies and buttercups and all the great things that happen, right?
Yeah. Well, there's lessons learned along the way, of course.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. So, okay. So you mentioned in the beginning that you started your business, you intended to be a solopreneur, kind of hang your shingle and see what happens. And now you've built this company. So what were some misconceptions that you had in the beginning, and how did you address them as you started to build your business?
I would say one of my biggest challenges was really changing from an engineer, day-to-day engineer solving problems, to really looking at the business as a whole and not being just an engineer. And it was an adjustment. I had been trained for, almost 20 years at that point to, really be an engineer and in the field managing things, but to really understand, to develop and mentor people, to understand their career paths, consider them, and really just look at a bigger picture was definitely a step in a I would actually say painful, because I didn't accept it for quite a while. I kind of refused to make that adjustment. Wanted to be in the field, wanted to be solving problems. But once I kind of embraced it, understood it, and started doing some research and reading and learning, then I kind of understood my role. Now it's trying to put right people in the right spots, and develop them to help the next leadership, the next group behind.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, and I love the fact that you're honest about the fact that you didn't want to do it, right?
I fought it for a while, but I could have stayed six guys for a long time, but it's just a decision.
Right. So can we ask how many team members do you have? How many people are on your
We
company?
are just pushing, we're just under 20,
Okay.
uh, and a good group. And so we're still, there's still a lot of guys wearing a lot of different hats, filling in here. And, some guys will, just, and then we do have a very flexible team. They're a great team. I think we have a great culture. It's a very cooperative environment. Help the customer, do what's right. The money will follow. Just take care of the customer, take care of business. We'll be successful if we take care of that. And that's really been since day one. Do what's right for the customer, and things will take care of themselves from there.
Yeah, that's excellent. Excellent. So it's been 20 years now-ish, if I read LinkedIn correctly. So what are the biggest challenges today? You got a great team, great culture, but what's the challenge of today?
Well, there is developing the next generation. There's always that business cycle that we have to figure out during those downturns. Okay, are we training? Are we developing for future? Are we developing systems? Are we springboarding something else? Are we training? So that's always a ebb and flow of work. And myself and my minority partner, a lot of times we're handling those peaks and valleys as things accelerate. And really, I shouldn't say that, because the whole team, for the most part, really does. When we start ramping up, they try to pitch in and help out and do some extra. And then during downtimes, then kind of help each other out, fill in here and there. So I'd say that's still a little bit of business cycle impact. Still a lot of people carrying different roles that are maybe not really in their best fit, but
Okay.
they're cooperative. They help us out. So I think we're still going through some growing pains. Those are probably the most immediate that I can think of.
Excellent. Excellent. So right people on the bus, just maybe not in the right seats quite yet.
Yeah, less than 20. You got to wear a few hats sometimes.
Yeah.
And you just gotta, can you help us out here? So, and they've been great. They've been great to work with, a good team, and they have been cooperative.
Excellent. Excellent. So we all know what happened in 2020, big pandemic, right? Wow, world news. That forced a lot of pivots from a lot of businesses. But constantly, I mean, or candidly, the business landscape is constantly changing. There's always something new coming at us. So how do you stay open to change? How do you stay innovative? What specific strategies do you put in place to make sure that your company is still relevant as things change around you?
Probably we still are very focused on customer. We are very customer centric. So a lot of that is listening to their needs. There are certain things that may not be a good fit that we have to, pass on or get them some other help. But a lot of times it's, what is your pain point? What are you looking for? Okay, we can help with this part, just really understanding. And that kind of has been telling us where the market is going, where the projects are coming, where the customers have increased sales, automation, just it's hard to find, good people. So a lot of times they'll automate, and that's been a driver recently. So I think a lot of it has been just really listening to the customers, understanding their needs, understanding their pain points, just really trying to help them through a project and through the process, and what are their options, and educating them through the process.
Yeah, so you mentioned listening to their pain points. I'm this just now. I like to pivot sometimes in the podcast myself. So,
Sure.
have the pain points changed for your clients over the years, or are they still pretty much the same as they were 20 years
ago? There's a lot. Just because it's a large company, there's still a lot of individuals within those companies, and each individual must, much like our people, have strengths and weaknesses. So some will be strong in an area and need help in another area, and another one struggles in just want to get it, just solve their problem, and sometimes we learn from that, we grow, and geez, this was just like this other project, this is a great fit for us, we can do this, and it's not that much of a learning curve. So I think pain points is still somewhat individualistic. It is company driven as well, but dealing with engineering managers or project managers, there's certain strengths that they have that you just need to understand and try and help them through a project in their weak spots or where they want some help.
Great. Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks for sharing. So, okay, so 20 years in, can you give us a glimpse into what the future holds for the company? And if it's anything proprietary, please don't share that. But anything general that you could share about the company, we would love to hear it.
Well, I still want to grow, control growth. It does need, at some point I have to exit. Whether it's a forced exit or under my control, and so I do want to get it to a point where it can run without. I want to be loyal to our people as well. They've been loyal. So how does that look? I'm not sure yet, but part of that is really large enough to have a structure, to have certain managers in place, certain, I guess more functions by individuals that are in their strength. So, and part of that is size, part of that is, organizational chart, organizational structure. Again, there's a lot of guys doing multiple things. We have our business ops guy is also hiring and purchasing, and he's wearing multiple hats. And so I think a little bit more structure. We have a little bit of a gap between some senior guys, and then we have some really talented and just really smart younger guys. But they're developing, they're coming along great. But there's a little bit of gap there that we're trying to fill in, get those guys a little bit further along. So I would say filling in the holes, a little bit more organizational structure, where it really can run without me being there, so it could continue without me, and everybody has a home.
That's great. It's great that you have visibility to that. It's great that you understand that you started it, therefore you have to get out of it if you're ever going to exit successfully, right?
That has also been a very learning experience. Not that I'm 56. I still have some runway.
Of course.
But you got to start looking at what is that going to look like, and what are my options, and how do I take care of everybody else? And so there's a lot of moving parts to that. Obviously there's guys that specialize in that. Probably yourself and some others. There are people that really do that day in and day out, and obviously there's some resources that I will need to reach out and get some help. But so yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, other than the day-to-day and taking care of people. But in the big picture, that's where I kind of need to take it eventually.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that, Jim. And you're right, there are experts out there that can help you through that process. But I would also tell you that it's great you have the awareness that some business owners don't understand that. They don't get the fact that it can't be all about you, and you've figured that out, and that's step one. It's just understanding that it can't be all about you, right? So
and that I'll kind of, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but that goes to a little bit of work-life balance. If I don't let some people take some leadership roles, and I don't let them excel and learn, and we always say, you can skin a knee, just don't break a leg. You can make a mistake along the way, but not where we lose a customer. And that's been a growth area. I think I've gotten much better at that. And if you almost have to do that to, one, let them develop and grow, and two, I need to focus on what I'm good at, and really, kind of enjoy my life, enjoy my first grandchild, enjoy other things along with it, as well as contributing at a higher level, and not in the weeds so much.
That's great. And so you're already starting to answer part of my last question that I have for you, but so I'll just take that and roll with it. So as we finish up, the last question I have, Jim, is what advice would you offer to aspiring entrepreneurs who are just starting their journey?
Well, just starting, I would say live frugally and run your business frugally. You're going to have plenty of expenses. You're going to have things come up. You're going to hire cost money, to buy equipment costs money. Live and run the business, lean and mean for a while till you get it up and going. So I would say from a budding one, I would also say, it does take guts. It is not an easy task to quit a job that has a paycheck with benefits, that is a very, it's a tough decision. And sometimes you just gotta I don't, I don't know any other way to say it. Just takes guts, and you just got to do it and take the leap. But understand you need some savings. You're probably going to have to draw down the savings. Think about it's going to take a while to get paid. So just look at it with eyes wide open. Small business plan, just at least to understand what your deliverables are, who your customers are. It doesn't have to be something you go get a big some crazy loan, but understand what you're going to do, and then start there and listen, because it may not be exactly what it may change depending on the customer's needs. So
yeah, great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jim. And Jim, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your insights, your wisdom, learning more about your entrepreneurial journey and about your business. To everyone watching and listening, we look forward to having you on our next episode. Jim, thanks again.